Despite attempts by the Russian authorities to frustrate and manipulate the investigative process from the beginning to the end, Mr. Horwell's clients have carried out the most meticulous, the most professional, and one of the most extensive murder investigations in British criminal history. They have acted throughout with objectivity, integrity, and stubborn determination to ensure that every possible avenue was explored, whatever direction it may have pointed in. They may not in the end have been able to bring the murderers and their accomplices in Moscow before a British criminal court to face trial, but they have proved the case against them beyond reasonable doubt, just as surely as if they had been sitting in a dock at the Old Bailey. The inevitable conclusion is that the person who poured that solution down that sink was knowingly handling the murder weapon itself. The reason that evidence is so pivotal, of course, is because Dmitry Kovtun stayed in that room on the very day that he and Mr. Logovoi administered the fatal dose of polonium to Mr. Litvinenko some floors below in the Pine Bar at the same hotel. Taken entirely in isolation, that unchallenged scientific evidence proves beyond doubt that Dmitry Kovtun and Andrei Logovoi murdered Mr. Litvinenko. After putting the solution in a pot of tea, Kovtun poured the remainder down the sink in his own bedroom. It's hard to imagine any case in which there could be more compelling, more direct, or more damning evidence of guilt. So the same scientific evidence ultimately proves beyond doubt that the murder was commissioned by the Russian state. A careful analysis of the men's movements, as I shall seek to show, proves beyond a shadow of doubt that Logovoi and Kovtun brought that polonium solution here to London from Moscow on 3 separate occasions, and it proves to the same degree of certitude that this cannot have happened without the knowledge and consent of Russian state authorities. The President of the Russian Federation set about proving the very connection he is trying so hard to conceal. Professor Service, despite his generally cautious approach, was quite clear in his view that this medal was intended by Putin to be seen as a public reward to Logovoi for carrying out the assassination of Alexander Litvinenko. It was a crass and clumsy gesture from an increasingly isolated tin-pot despot, a morally deranged authoritarian who was at that very moment clinging desperately onto political power in the face of international sanctions and a rising chorus of international condemnation. The evidence has demonstrated, step by painstaking step, that Putin and his personal cabal are directly implicated in organized crime, that they are willing to murder those who stand in their way, and that Mr. Litvinenko was murdered for that reason.